3, 2, 1, we are live for Hell Bells episode 6. Is it 6? 5. 5 is it? 6.
I think it is 6, yeah.
It's raining. It's my favourite weather right now. Rainy Sunday. Yeah, it's raining here. Is it not raining?
I mean, I was questioning that it's your favourite weather.
Yeah.
It's nice when it's raining, but
I
it's pathetic fallacy.
Yeah, it's pathetic fallacy. For the crying liberal tears. No, I'm joking. It's white tears falling from the sky.
Yeah.
But so we got a lot to get through this week. Last week was so long. We need to be
concise in our speech.
Yeah. So what?
Sorry, I was going to say we have a backlog of topics that we'd like to talk about, but then it just gets overwritten by the chaos that ensues in reality. We have some kind of abstract thoughts that we always want to, let's talk about the royal family and what we think about royalty, and then it's oh no, the world is on fire.
But you watched the new Netflix Epstein documentary, didn't you?
Yeah, it's like a 4-part.
Is it 4 parts?
Yeah, I thought it was more.
6.
No, it's 4.
What was your general takeaway of it then?
I was skeptical about. I forced myself to watch it basically. I wasn't too thrilled by the idea because I just thought I was so kind of not obsessively looking into it when he was put on trial and then when he quote unquote committed suicide / died. We don't even know. That I was looking into it so hard at the time that I just thought, what could a Netflix documentary possibly tell me that I don't already know?
Yeah, that's what I thought. It would be a very lukewarm take on it, and not really give anything new. But
yeah, but I went into it with low expectations, and it was interesting, and yeah, I would recommend it, but it was because it was more kind of about the victims more so than anything.
Yeah.
So they sort of went through the people who came forward. You know how after he killed himself, they still let the victims speak in court, which was what they wanted to do in the first place. But then he killed himself, and then they just almost really last minute rushed. The judge was like, no, I think these girls should we're not just going to cancel everything because he's taken the coward's route out. We're going to listen to what these girls have to say, because if nothing else, it's going to be hugely cathartic for them.
Yeah.
Having been stomped on by the system and the media and everything. There are things in the news because he went, obviously he had charges brought against him quite early on, and then he was charged with soliciting prostitution.
Yeah, but he had that even
underage
before,
girls,
didn't he?
Yeah, so that was quite early on, but it was the same people who were coming forward. But then it was something like a decade later then came again when they managed to, because he got this weird shady deal with the courts that meant he only was given an 18-month sentence or something, when it was literally they had tens of these girls coming forward and being like, Jeffrey Epstein himself raped me in his house. I went to his house, I got loads of girls to come with me because they were paying £200 for a massage or whatever.
Yeah.
We all
were they
got
children as well, really young?
Sorry?
Are they children or
They were sort of teenage. They were underage because it was in Florida. This was the Florida law.
Yeah.
They were the age of consent was 18, and they were sort of between 14 and 17.
Yeah. Well, because for me, I don't, like, obviously that is really, it's interesting, and, like, they're telling the stories, whatever, but I want the kind of behind the scenes. How were these people trafficked? Where
Well, they did go into that.
Where is Ghislaine Maxwell?
Yeah, and she was obviously mentioned a lot.
Did they say that? Did they go into where she is now, like her silence on it?
No, well, they were just, every episode at the end, it would say Ghislaine Maxwell refuses to take part in interviews. We've approached her. She denies all of these accusations. She refuses to be spoken to by journalists or filmmakers.
That's boring. But, I want to hear from her.
Yeah, but you can't. Obviously, they only have
also,
what they have.
Did they go into like?
So the last 15 minutes of the last episode was like about after he died, and I was just like, no, this is where I want all of.
That's where you wanted to start.
Yeah.
Like,
So it was about those victims. Like, it wasn't about Jeffrey Epstein. They did do some backstory, and I learned some things I didn't know about, like his life and I learned a bit more about the paedophile island. There was a line where one of the girls who was working very closely she was trafficked and had been with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell for a few years, and so she spent a lot of her time on this island.
Yeah.
And she was like, at the time, obviously Jeffrey didn't call it Paedophile Island. That's what it's now known as. I was like, yeah, no shit. No one's going to be like, hey, Bill Clinton, do you want to come to Paedophile Island? And he'd be like, yes, I would love to come to Paedophile Island. Where are you going, Bill? Off to Paedophile Island.
But so, did they go into like the Lolita Express and stuff? Or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they talked about the famous people, because this same girl that I was just talking about, she was the one, Veronica Roberts, who accused Prince Andrew. She was the quote unquote prostitute who he had paid, but she was literally a girl who was trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein, and she was given to Prince Andrew by Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell.
Ew.
Maxwell. Yeah, it was quite like. I think do a huge amount of like.
What was your feeling that what they were trying to like say about it? Was it like rich?
What I thought the spin was.
Well, because it's called like dirty money or something, isn't it? Filthy rich.
Filthy rich.
It's like, are they going through that angle that like money corrupts, or is it like?
No, it was more like he was untouchable because of his. He was just rich and powerful. It was more like that, and they did a bit of like tracing the money kind of thing. But it was just more like he's an incredibly rich person. The byline was kind of a red herring, I think.
Yeah, but did they kind of like hint that there's like a paedophile cabal in?
Oh yeah, at the end, because they have the press conference with the victims after they had like said their piece in court. This press conference outside the courthouse. One of the women was just like, this isn't it. Like, I'm not going to stop here. There are like hundreds of these powerful men and women who were involved in this ring. She was like, this probably isn't even the biggest pedophile ring like there is. Like, there's so much more to come out of this, and like, you're stupid if you think otherwise.
Did they do? Oh, I guess I wouldn't have gone into it, but remember that Jane Doe girl who wore like all white, and she had the like bead bracelet that said Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. So that really pretty girl. She went for her.
I remember.
Yeah, she went for her hearing or whatever.
Didn't go into it.
But what was interesting, and I didn't know, is that James Patterson, the writer, is a producer of, or he is somehow involved in the documentary. And he co-wrote a book with Bill Clinton. So it's like how
they do talk about Bill Clinton, but they don't have like they don't have any. No one has any. Well, no one who was involved in the film or interviewed had like seen him do anything. That
could it be because James Patton was involved and they're great
well,
friends?
what they did say, they did contradict him and blatantly call Will Smith a liar in it, because he said he'd never been to Pedophile Island, but there was this guy who did maintenance on the island. He was like, I saw him there several times, and one of the girls who was trafficked was like, he was there, like. Some people would come for the day, she said, and they just come for lunch or whatever. So there was kind of like 2 layers to the.
Yeah, that makes me think system. That he's even more complicit and like.
Yeah, so why not just say, yeah, I went for lunch on his island? Like, sorry, I didn't know it was a paedophile island.
Yeah.
He was my friend and I went to lunch.
But that could
because he said, no, I never went there.
Exactly,
like,
people lie. And like, it can be proved as well. But just say, like,
exactly.
yeah, I went there. But that just makes me think that they're.
Well, because the next thing that comes out, if someone's willing to say he was on the island, if he says, yes, I was on the island, there's going to be someone who's like, okay, well, he's admitted to that part. Now, it doesn't sound so extreme if I say he molested me when I was underage.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of like a little step-by-step. You can't just go straight from like, there's no evidence against this person to this guy was like, trafficking children on Pedophile Island.
It makes me think he's even more complicit. Even the fact
that
his friend was involved in it, it's like
Yeah.
That is like the what they can concede and keep him kind of in the clear. Like, oh yeah, he's a liar, he lied about that. And then, but then the logical person, but oh, that's because like, you know, he doesn't want to be associated with that because he had nothing to do with it or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas it could be a lot more scary than that.
Yeah, which was the same with Prince Andrew, and then he did that interview that was just his downfall, and now no one is in doubt about Prince Andrew.
Struck off from royal duties forever, apparently.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It was when he goes, at this time I had a medical condition where I can't sweat. So this girl's description of that night of me being sweaty, it can't have happened because I couldn't sweat at the time.
There.
and even the interviewer was just like, what?
But yeah, I guess
so that kind of leads into what the anonymous tips that happened just after we finished recording our last one.
Oh yeah, the anonymous came out of the woodwork to say that. Well, basically, it's like all the tweets were like, anonymous have released court documents about, you know, this thing, and it's like, no, they were publicly available documents for a start, and they just kind of like pointed to them specifically during the time when there's like rioting and like there are a lot of people with invested interest in civil unrest, like
and also with interest politically. Obviously, there's the election, and irrelevant of which side you're on, all you have to do is say X, Y, and Z were on the Lolita Express to try and discredit a politician.
But that case was like thrown out, so
Donald Trump's one.
Yeah.
It was like they released like Jeffrey Epstein's little black book, and it was just like, this is just a list of names of famous people, and there was no corroborating. Not even corroborating, there was no evidence, it was just a list of names, and it felt like, well, anyone can list famous people, it doesn't show anything.
Donald Trump admits that they were friends.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's sort of, he's obviously, he's a loose cannon in what he says, and his story changes all the time on everything, but he said, at one point he was like, I barely knew him. Immediately after, he was like, we had a falling out, but I like barely knew him. But they were next door neighbors in Palm Beach.
Well, because didn't Trump have a resort there or something?
Yeah, well, these are all the big wigs all have houses on Palm Beach, but yeah, I mean, there's nothing either way.
Yeah.
Showing anything. It's obviously Donald Trump being so reactionary, the second is like, oh, he's a paedophile with this huge paedophile ring and all of his famous friends are complicit. He just goes, yeah, I barely know him, don't know him, whatever. Instead, and that's, I'm sure the same with Bill Clinton. It's like, yeah, no, I didn't go there, didn't do anything.
No, it's not, because Donald Trump says, once I caught wind of his like pedo tendencies, I like stopped being friends with him actively, and that was in
but that wasn't what he initially said. He initially said, I barely know him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not defending him. I'm just saying that you would say that if you hadn't met someone for like 20 years or whatever, you used to know them. It's like, I don't know. But what was I going to say? It's just like, Anonymous makes me cringe, because it's like, they're supposed to be like these kind of like bounty hunter kind of like outside of the law.
Yeah, vigilante. They wear Guy Fawkes masks.
And it's like, it's so, and then they release like a publicly available document.
I know.
It's like, dude, can't you do that? If you're like Legion and you say, well, is there nothing more you can give us here? Like video evidence or like, let's hear it kind of thing.
Yeah, it is true. They give you nothing.
Yeah, there's really nothing has come out of that.
It's just a load of nerds who want attention.
Well, because now it's like, because obviously there's like the Q, 4chan Q drops happening that are supposedly like, they kind of backing up the Trump is the savior narrative, that like he's in the swamp, and so it's kind of like a Q versus Anonymous like war of like nerds.
Battle of the losers.
Yeah, battle of the freaking losers. Speaking of losers on the internet, Instagram is popping it off with support for the Black Lives Matter protests, and the crazy race riots that are going on in like America and have trickled down to like much tamer versions in the UK and Europe and stuff. It's kind of just lame. It's so cringeworthy. I do feel like the narrative it's got a little less hysterical and a bit more reasonable now. I guess that's defund the police.
Okay, what I mean is that the focus has gone from, because when it first happened in America, like politicians and kind of media personalities were saying it's open season for black men at the moment. Like,
I see.
It's not safe to be a black man in America.
Yeah.
They're just being like mowed down like cattle getting slaughtered, and you can't leave your house without being killed if you're a black man, basically, was what they were saying. And I think they
reneged on that a bit.
Yeah, and it starts with people are dying. Why aren't you? If you say the protest, if you say the looting and vandalism are bad, you're saying that you don't care about the lives of black men. But I feel like they've kind of sensed up a bit and gone towards reformation of the police force, which is good.
I mean, well, I think what's happening is there's like social media kind of like retards are like going insane, like crazy shit. Like they'll say something bizarre like defund the police without any like thought, and then it's whittled down to people who like catch the idea and make it into something that's actually palatable to people. But it's based on erroneous facts. That's the whole point.
Not just palatable, but actually possible. Actually practical.
As we said last week, it's like those same people, then nobody's going to not call the police. It's like, if you want to defund the police, stop calling the police, because they're just responding to calls by people. And if there are like a lot of calls, there's going to be a lot of people. So if you get shot, if your house is getting raided, if someone you know is getting raped, stop calling the police, and then they won't be needed. And if you want like a vigilante Wild West style way of living, a lot of people don't really want that, I don't think. And what's in reality going to happen to that is there's going to be vigilante, or there's going to be like privately owned police, or there's going to be like,
you're going to have to pay for protection, basically.
Yeah. And
they'll go, we'll look after you. Some gang will come along. They'll go, we'll look after you. All you have to do is direct debit us £20 a month. It'll be
Brazil.
Yeah, it will be Brazil.
Why would you? And I don't know. It's just bizarre. But I think there's so many insane narratives, but people are taken seriously. It's like, I've seen all these like resources going around, and I actually like took the time to like open and read some of them, and I actually lost so many brain cells just reading these things. It's like, one of the big ones going around, which really makes me laugh, is 75 things white people can do for racial justice. And it's like 75 things, and they go from like standing up for black people if something bad happens, and it's like, yeah, that's just being a good person.
Yeah.
They're like, if your friend is an educator, buy them books with POCs as protagonists and heroes. Dude, I've got a job. Like, I don't have time to do 75 different things to combat racial injustice. But I think my biggest gripe, and it should be everyone's gripe, is that these protests are based on erroneous facts. False.
Yeah, so I did have a think about this. I've been looking, obviously, hearing a lot of crazy and kind of reasonable voices online. And, you know, last week we were talking about police brutality. We were talking about the crime statistics and the kind of disparity between how many black people there are how many black men there are in the United States versus how much of the violent crime is committed by black people. Obviously, they fill the prisons in drug charges and things that are kind of petty crime.
Yeah.
That's not really what we're talking about. Like, that's a different thing in itself.
Yeah, that's a different problem.
But the violent crime, murder and armed robbery and grievous bodily harm, assault, and those sorts of things are disproportionately being committed by black people. I was thinking, and then we were saying how the police fatally shoot or kill people, disproportionately white people, compared with the calls and the crime that's committed. So there's disparity there, but there are still a lot. It was something like a third in last year. Something like a third of the people that the police shot, that the police killed, were black men.
Yeah.
Or black people. Which is still a lot considering they only make up 13% of the population.
Yeah.
And it's like police brutality. There are several issues, but they do interlink. And police brutality is disproportionately affecting black people. Like, there's no two ways about it. It is disproportionately affecting black people. So the fact that black people are committing more crimes, it's like that's one thing in itself.
Yeah. Police
brutality is another thing in itself, and that is a problem. And that
if you're saying that police brutality, it's like the police brutality disproportionately affecting black people is assuming that there is a proportion of people who should be subject to police brutality, but there is nobody should be. Police brutality is like the excessive use of force beyond what is necessary in response to a crime or whatever. And
I think they have institutional problems.
I would say that
in the police force.
But if you are going to go down that line, they are disproportionately white, they're not disproportionately affected because they commit 50% of the crime. So it's like,
yes,
compared to the crimes committed,
proportional to people. If the police are just, I know how it sounds, but if the police are just going out and killing people,
yeah,
which obviously they're not, but if people are being killed, it is affecting more. So basically, what I'm saying is, if police brutality was tackled as an issue, it would result in less, proportionally, it would be a more extreme benefit for the black community if that number was brought down. So it would benefit the black community more than it would benefit the white or Latino population.
Yeah.
If it was tackled. So it is like, race isn't completely separated from it. And so the whole narrative isn't, like, I get that I feel like it's looking at it from the wrong angle, but it's not wrong in saying that we need to tackle police brutality and this will help the black community, kind of thing. But that is true.
Yeah, that's true.
But then there's the other issue.
That's a twisting of, it's like a non sequitur. It's a leap of logic that it's not necessary. It's like, yeah, that is true, but if more white people are being attacked by police, like due to crime, or like they're being brutalized more by the police, then surely there should be a big White Lives Matter movement, and that should be where everyone's interests are, or anti-police brutality, because it's to say that black people are disproportionately affected. It's like they're proportionally affected to do with the crimes that they commit, and it's like, address the crimes and police brutality will go down.
But
police brutality shouldn't exist in the first place, as a disclaimer. But if you want us to go down, address the crime thing. So it's drugs, it's gangs, it's low socioeconomic
flavor. Sorry.
Low socioeconomic, people being low on the socioeconomic scale. It's like those are real things you can address. But whereas you're addressing you're addressing the cure. It's like a cure. What's the phrase to do with medicine? Like Teddy's barking outside.
What do you mean? It's
like, these are just results. So police.
You're addressing the symptom as opposed to the cause.
Yeah. So you're addressing the symptom as opposed to the cause. If you're saying stopping police brutality, because those black people are still going to be dying.
Yeah.
Thousands of black people are still going to be dying in America. And if you say you care about black lives, do those black lives not count? And they are far outweigh those killed by police. So let's put resources where they matter.
By the way, the number of people killed by police in 2019 was something like 1,000. And while yes, that is 1,000 too many, it's some of those cases the person was like, probably the majority of the cases the people were armed.
Yeah. And or you don't know if they're armed or not.
And last year, the number of unarmed black men or black people who were killed by the police, who were unarmed, was something like 10. Which, again, is a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, it's 10 too many people who have died, and that's horrible. But
that's not...
to extrapolate that and say that, like, it's
a pandemic.
open season on black men, that doesn't even scrape the kind of 0.1%
we've addressed that it's like erroneous, completely false, but
what I was going to say, was that the thing when you said about because it's police brutality is disproportionately affecting the white population.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't they be out on a White Lives Matter? It tastes a bit different because of the history, I feel.
Yeah,
and I know
don't get me wrong. It's
really
not as if I'm saying white lives there should be a White Lives Matter movement.
But I felt that like the reason this comes up is because of it wasn't that long ago when things were that way, and there is a bit of latent, there's tension between the black community and the police. There is more.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is movements like
whether that's justified or not.
But Eleanor, movements like Black Lives Matter are doing nothing but exacerbating that, because they're they're proliferating facts that are true. Yes, like black people are disproportionately affected by that, but that's stoking a fire of victimhood rather than. But also, black people commit this many crimes, and so let's address that as well. It's like, but
you obviously want to change the relationship between the police and black folks, and the black population.
The thing is, you can make a group of people. You can address a certain issue. Black Lives Matter has every right to band together and address problems in the black community wherever they see fit, if they really care that much. But what I'm saying is, they are looting, they're killing other people, they're destroying livelihoods of people, they are, and then the offshot of that is white people's, this mass kind of outpouring of fake solidarity from the white people, where they're telling their children that they're privileged and so they need to be doing 75 things every day to stop white supremacy. And it's just, why are we building education? Like, they're talking about reforming education in order to put white supremacy under the spotlight, and it's like, it's based on something that's wrong. It's based on lies, and it's just white people feeling bad for nothing. It's like boring. It's so annoying.
Yeah. I mean,
and what I was going to say is,
is
like, I just thought, okay, well, there must be some reason for it, and it's like, if you think about it, a lot of people benefit from the narrative, because the left benefit because they can flaunt their kind of like cool black supporters, and then the right have like the optics of a big, strong police force going out on the front line and defending their great nation from Antifa and who have been designated a domestic terrorist organization or whatever. And then corporations, which is like one of the more sickening parts of it, is that like Ben and Jerry's are committed to dismantling white supremacy, and it's like, just sell ice cream.
Scoop of cookie dough at a time.
Just sell ice cream to black people and you're helping. Black people can enjoy ice cream. That's equality there. It's like anyone can go with the same amount of money and buy a tub of Ben and Jerry's.
Don't be racist in your hiring process. That's that.
And my biggest like problem at the moment, I've unfollowed so many people on social media because influencers are like, if they weren't bad enough already, if they weren't like shelling out the economy and like putting the like so much lies out there in the first place and like crap out there, they always to be an influencer in like the 21st century, you have to like already kind of softly follow these movements in order to be like, I don't know, acceptable.
Yeah, you couldn't get anywhere as like as like an NRA Trump supporting conservative influencer. If you wanted to sell,
but that would have to be your thing. If you were NRA Trump supporting whatever, you'd have to be that. But it's almost as if like they have no talent because they have to get behind these kind of movements, or they just get run over. Whereas somebody who perhaps secretly is a Republican or whatever, but also has the talent, and that's why they're an influencer, they're going to be fine, kind of thing. But it's like they're just sharing these stupid resources for like documents of books written by people about white guilt and white supremacy and white privilege.
Yeah, I saw something funny on Lucy Watson's Instagram.
Is she the only person you follow on Instagram?
No, she's just been very outspoken about this.
Is she like pro Black Lives Matter and all that stuff?
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
She's an influencer, as we were talking about. She posted something like, it's the end of the week. It's soon the beginning of a new week. She said, that doesn't mean we should forget all we have learned or that we should slow down on continuing to better ourselves. Responsibility lies with us. Keep sharing, keep evolving. And then she had something on her story about how these kinds of posts appear, but that doesn't mean you should stop doing all of the things that you've been doing, which is essentially reading a book and going to a protest, from what I can see from her profile. But then it was like the next picture was like a picture of her kitchen.
Yeah. So now we've just got to deal with living with all these people sharing this crap about like Black Lives Matter and all this shit. It's like, I don't know. The way I see it is that like I think the problem is basically it's a powerful thing to draw a line from like microaggressions and kind of like subconscious racism and drawing a line from that to like the cold-blooded killing of black people. Like that is a psychological tool of manipulation. And to say that not every day you have to be tearing down systems of oppression as a white person, or you're contributing to the murder of black people. Yeah. That is a powerful...
White silence is white violence now.
Yeah. And then some, I guess that's quite a powerful statement to make. And I just think for me, it's like if you take yourself out of that whole narrative, you're no longer you no longer have to play by their rules. It's just a psychological tool of like to beat people down with, to beat like all these white people in the UK are going outside of their house and getting down on one knee for Black Lives Matter. I'm like, you have serious mental health problems and really should like look into it because you look ridiculous.
They keep crisscrossing over this line from ridiculous to dangerous, and because some things are just okay. Yeah, it seems a bit silly and kind of useless to go, okay, I'm going to read this, I'm going to read only black authors this year.
Yeah.
And as if you doing that in your learning things and reading stuff is going to actually break down systematic oppression of black people. I don't really see that personally. And that seems quite silly, but honestly do it. Read what you want. Do whatever you want. Post whatever you want. But then there's some like in between all of those, in my opinion, innocuous things. There are some really dark, bad messages.
Yeah.
And there's something that's been going around. Lena Dunham shared it, and several other people that said it's 10 steps to non-optical allyship. Okay, I'm just gonna. One of them is be prepared to do the work, and it says, understand that coming to terms with your own privilege will not be a pretty or fun experience. It is necessary to feel feelings of guilt, shame, and anger throughout the process. And I just thought, not trying to be facetious or like not purposefully being blind to what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, just a white person who is not racist, think of a child, a white child, should they have to feel shame, guilt, and anger over what? Over learning about the horrors of the past? Should we, as a human race, should you feel shame?
Knowing about something
about what your ancestors have done.
Yeah.
Or what your people, the people who built your society, say have done.
Yeah.
Should you feel? Should you actually personally have shame about that, or is that quite dark and really, really divisive and psychologically traumatizing.
The thing is, if you're talking in these hyperbolic ways, such as like there is a pandemic of violence against black people, it's kind of, you're just matching that like for like, and if the resources then have to be a kind of this bizarre, over the top.
But I feel like even then, even if it's like, okay, you have to sign this petition and write to your MP about this, or whatever it is, in order, because what these are assuming, I hope, is that the people who are reading these on their friends' timelines aren't personally killing black people.
Yeah.
I hope that they think that their followers aren't personally going out and killing black people, or even purposefully voting for someone who has policies that are openly racist, discriminatory against race.
Yeah.
If they are actively doing those things, then yeah, okay, you should probably feel some shame and anger learning about.
Yeah. I think the problem is people want to know exactly what's going on in someone's head. And the thing is, you don't owe anybody your negative thoughts you've had about something or somebody. If you thought, oh, I don't want a black family living next door, you don't have to share that thought with somebody. You have no obligation to. Like, if you go out and then beat the door down, and then you do have to, because that's a crime, and like you're committing an actual crime and you're infringing on people. It's like, you don't, because I see all these like literally popping out of like the ground like daisies, as like YouTubers and stuff, like sharing my experience being like a white person, and like me dismantling my white supremacy, and like, I am racist and here's why, blah blah blah. It's like you can tell we've raised a generation of like ninnies, because at some point, at least in England, that we were like the leading country, and just like a new idea comes in, you toy with the idea, you talk about it, and then you either reject it or you build upon those ideas based on their factual and their intellectual merits. And now it's like, it's somehow virtuous to suspend your intellect and actively go against your natural instincts for a cause. And it's like, why is that held up as anything but self-flagellating and like pointless self-flagellation and virtue signaling and just like all those phrases? It's like, it's embarrassing. They should be embarrassed, and they will look back on this embarrassment.
Well, it's not even just embarrassing. It's like what's interesting to observe is, despite all of the talk about listen to black voices, you should be humbling yourself before the experiences of black people.
Yeah.
You should be, now is not the time to like try and make some points of politics or ethics or religion. Now is the time to shut your white mouth and listen. It's very interesting how much attention white people are getting at the moment on their social medias, and how much noise that is coming from white people on Instagram. It's just like, I have maybe seen the occasional post from like one or two of my black friends on Instagram about this, but in my opinion, their voices are way dwarfed by my white friends.
Yeah.
And the volume of material is insane.
It is. It's like if I read everything that I was being told seriously important to read, I would
never stop reading about black people.
Yeah. Or I would never stop reading about all these. It's just like a bunch of false pseudoscience that is like cropped up. It's like sociological science becoming like law, essentially. And it's crazy. It's like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to say sorry for being white. You don't have to do any of that. And just think critically about.
And it doesn't help. It doesn't help people. It doesn't help those.
Exactly.
It doesn't help those black communities that are suffering. in any way, it doesn't help them.
But on some level, they know that. They know that they're just doing it for likes. They're doing it for likes. They're doing it for attention. They're doing it for like black, like street cred, essentially.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's like, and
that's just
they're
really
pointing
great
us to really
channel.
stupid black people as well. They're pointing to this like, listen to this. Oh my god, it's sickening. The whole like. This one particular person comes to mind, some influencer. She's sharing stuff, and the caption she's like, she's so eloquent and stuff like that. It's like, wow, these people really do need to look at themselves, because
maybe they are racist. You know what?
Yeah, that's
like I am racist. Maybe you are.
Yeah, I am racist. It's like, okay, well, use that in your court case because you're going to prison, sweetie. Seriously, and like they say, like, oh. This is such an eloquent thing from like this black voice. It's like, I don't need a white.
Did you expect something different, or?
Yeah, they're normally just speaking ooga booga language, and you can't even. Or they're just human beings as well, and it's like all these black people. There's so much. There's like a massive onus now on these black influencers and these other black people. They're all being directed from all these white places to speak. You know, it's bizarre. And like, then there's a whole like, don't reach out to your black friends for like emotional, what's the word? Labor.
We talked about it,
While if white silence is violence, black silence is like. Speaks volumes. Because they must feel immense pressure to somehow weigh in on this, and it's like, that's not fair, because that's not them. They're either British. We're basically being shoehorned. People are being shoehorned into a situation, and you can tell some people just share something that looks pretty on their feed, and they will drop the whole thing later on, and it's like, but you don't realize that is just perpetuating lies, and you're actually harming the black community. I saw a really good video of this like African immigrant lady, and she's basically saying like, I'm free. She's like, it's in America, in Washington, and she's just basically a one-woman tirade against this like army of what would look like mostly white people. She's saying, I'm free, like I came from Africa, I'm an immigrant, like I work in like a federal agency. I'm successful. There's no barriers for me. I'm free. I'm not oppressed. Stop telling me I am. And there's this white woman like shouting at her, saying like, "You're oppressed," basically. And like she's like, the black lady's like, go to Chicago if you care about black lives. They're dying every single day. Hundreds and hundreds of people are dying. Like. The violence and the gangs, and like, it's crazy there, blah blah blah. You claim to care about it, but why aren't you in Chicago? And then this white woman is just like shouting at her, and I'm like, so it's literally like it's like this. It's still in the whole like, this black person speaking out of line. I'm gonna shout her down because I'm white, and like and it, you know.
Yeah. There's a really great YouTube channel, Ava and Preach, who I think have a really sensible take on the matter. And they're also incredibly funny, but it's just like they're quite a center voice in this. It's these two black guys, and they just basically talk about why your white guilt is completely like not useful. It's not useful. They don't want it. They don't care. White silence is not violence. You don't want to say anything about this on your social media. It literally means nothing about who you are as a person. He was literally like, why is some like old lady who just doesn't ever go on social media, is she the problem? Even if she's just not a racist, she could volunteer at like NAACP.
It's like, what these people, it's like, okay, white silence is white violence, able-bodied silence is ableist violence, what else is there? There's like, if you're silent on a topic, then you're violent against the topic. It's like, but that is a psychological weapon to be used against people, so they say and do exactly what you want. And then, but then, if you want to look at the root of these problems, how can you address all of those things sensibly? And it's by promoting freedom. And like, if everyone is free, you know, if people are free, if there is a constitution like there is in America, or something that keeps people general principles such as like bodily freedom to like not be beaten by other people or physically attacked, you know?
Yeah.
The chance.
But who's going to protect those freedoms? Hey?
Exactly. Defund the police. Whoops! All of your rights go out the window there.
I did have a bit of a honestly defund the police. So I dare you, just do it. I honestly want to see. I want to
give them like a week. It'll be the purge.
In order for it will be the purge. In order for like, it's almost like because the police aren't like the police isn't going to be scrapped. The idea of a police force isn't going to go away, and so these people are always going to think things will be better if there were no police, because they'll never find out, because as en masse, I feel like the West isn't stupid enough to do that.
Yeah. They're just addicted to missing the mark on everything.
I just want honestly, maybe the police should all just, okay, we're going to not work for 2 months.
Yeah, so that emergencies,
let's see how this
deal with
goes.
it yourself. Deal with gun violence yourself, seriously.
Yeah.
Deal with it, like theft, deal with it yourself. Home invasion, sort it out yourself.
I've seen some...
You hate guns, you think that guns should be, like, taken away from people, so you can defend yourself however you
using your water pistols.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is kind of a very ignorant thing to say.
Okay.
I've seen some posts going around. That's quite a common one about the 8 reformations. Have you seen those 8 reformations for the police force? And they were really sensible things.
Like what?
And things like if basically like avoiding shooting to kill, like
they already have that.
When you can,
preservation of life is like tantamount in the police force.
Yeah, yes, it is. But they were sensible things. It was to do with like training, like what kind of training these people in the police force should have, and they were just sensible, regular things. And whether they happen already or not, those were their sensible things. But then it's like defund the police, and it's like, okay, who's going to pay for all that retraining? Like, well, you want them retrained, but also to not have anyway. And then there's like figures going around about how much the police are like given in terms of like federal funding, and it's just like it doesn't matter. Like, what that money isn't going to a room full of like white guys going kill black people and only black people. I think here are your guns. Don't think twice. Just shoot.
I think probably like, you know, police corruption, if that's a problem, then and like streamlining funding in the police, fine, that's fine.
Yeah, good. I'm all for
but that's just like the result of big government, which is what you wanted. These people want that. They love big government. They love defund the police. It's just such a bizarre notion. Like Emily Ratajkowski, yes again. She's out there saying defund the police. If she lived in a black neighborhood, she would not be saying defund the police. She'd be saying ramp up the police presence in this neighborhood because my children are under attack every single day. I'm scared to let my children
in order for people in order for less crime, a higher police presence, it sounds obvious, but a higher police presence has been shown to reduce crime in an area.
Yeah.
And because police forces have actually been taken out of inner cities in these, we're not talking about now like police brutality, but more like gang warfare and black on black crime, there's a direct correlation between police being removed from areas and areas becoming more crime-ridden.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, a 21-year-old Antifa member who's never had a real job is telling us to, like, defund the police. Okay, let's do it. we are walking to the town hall and demanding that something like this happens. It's just like, okay, honey, like, it's just another result of people thinking that they're important and that they have the correct vision.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm reading a book at the moment that's it's by Uspensky. It's called In Search of the Miraculous, and he basically meets with this like yogi ass man who's like, he's called Gurdjieff, and he's basically taken lots of like Eastern traditions and things to find like truth, and it's basically one of the parts of it is talking about how human beings are automatons basically, and that people are basically a result of external influences, and that if you stop and think how much your actions are a result of external influences, you'll be like disgusted and appalled, because it's no longer you are no longer what you thought you were. You're no longer an human being. Like you are just being pushed and pulled around in these various ways by other people's things, who are also being pushed and pulled by just external influences. And I think a lot of people would benefit from truly thinking about that and thinking, what am I being influenced? Am I being pushed or pulled in a direction against my will or without my knowledge? Before hopping onto a movement, that would weed out all of this pseudoscience. It would weed out all of this, the violence and the kind of really hyped up way of thinking of these people.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are automatons, and that's it's true. Like once you really think about it, we are. Even if you just believe in like the nature versus nurture, like how your parents have raised you, and what you've learned in school, things you've read on the internet, what actually comes from you as an individual, as you as a person. And then it's basically about the search for truth and like
burning away all of the like bullshit in your character.
It's literally about that. It's kind of like submitting to truth rather than vanity and whatever. And
along that strain, we move on to J.K. Rowling.
Harry Potter Queen. She's like somebody who peripherally, like I've never followed her. I don't understand. She's just an irritating character in general. She wrote props to her. She wrote an amazing, something that is successful.
It will stand the test of time. It's like an archetypal story of heroism and like friendship and love and magic. And then she just didn't
all over stuff all the time. Yeah, she's jumped on every social social cause, social justice. She's just basically like woke Twitter 101. Like you have to follow her in order to be a part of woke Twitter, basically.
Yeah.
But one point of contention that she has, and that she gets cancelled for, she's in the process of being cancelled for, is like her issue with thinking that women exist, I guess.
It's difficult to say because she does so much. Okay, no offense, but I'm still an ally. I'm still like this person, but and she tiptoes around it for a while. But she's basically being labeled a TERF now.
I think she already,
which
she already
is,
had
for
that.
all of those who don't know this real word, trans-exclusionary radical feminist, which are a breed of radical feminists.
They're kind of like the norm, like, I guess they kind of believe in women's, like...
They believe in a sexual difference between... They believe in a biological difference between men and women.
Yeah. And that you can't fight against kind of like systematic oppression, whatever, unless women exist as like a separate entity from men.
Yeah.
Which obviously causes friction with the trans community.
Yeah. So her first tweet was, if sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate to speak the truth. And then she said, the idea that women like me, who've been empathetic to trans people for decades, feeling kinship because they're vulnerable in the same way as women, i.e. to male violence, hate trans people because they think sex is real has lived consequences. It is a nonsense. I respect every trans person's right to live in any way that feels authentic and comfortable to them. I'd march with you if you were discriminated against on the basis of being trans. At the same time, my life has been shaped by being female. I do not believe it is hateful to say so.
What is controversial about that statement? That's just like a...
Does not seem controversial, yeah.
That is surely just like a sensible thing to say, but it's in reaction to non-sensible people, the same ilk as the people we've talked about before who are out rioting right now. No, who instigate the riots, I should say. But,
she could have not brought this whole trans issue into it. She could have simply declared that sex is a thing, like there is biological sex, which is the actual claim that she's going against. The claim is there is no biological sex in the current rhetoric. It's like there was that first interview that on the news about when Jordan Peterson first got in the public eye for declaring his opposition to that bill C-16 in Canada. He was on a panel discussion show, and it was him and Theron Mayer, is that her name? Theron, she's like a trans YouTuber. And then this person who I don't know how they identify, and he's a sociology professor at the University of Toronto or somewhere like that. He basically said there is no scientific evidence for a sexual binary. He said that on television, and that was that. And that was when Jordan Peterson kind of was like, the fact that you can say that on television is crazy.
But it's just, reality is anybody's game at this point. It's literally anybody can just say anything and it's valid, unless it's like a specific group of things which are the truth. But
honestly, argue against it.
There are a lot of truth.
If you think that there's no such thing as sex, just put your points forward.
Yeah.
You don't have to. The fact that I mean, I read these tweets. It's through an article on Advocate. The headline: J.K. Rowling goes full TERF in new series of transphobic tweets. Is the headline. And then it says, the creator of Harry Potter empire, J.K. Rowling, unleashed a series of transphobic tweets Saturday, even as she claims to, quote-unquote, love trans people. Her hateful anti-trans rhetoric was met with nearly universal backlash on Twitter.
Yeah. If you didn't have enough mental health problems with your transgenderism, you've also got a ton of other shit where you can't fathom reality properly.
She said...
The problem is... It's
that
like,
sex isn't... She said that sex is real.
She said, it was something about the recent thing that... I think it was something to do with, like, periods, where it said that, like, something like people who get periods. It was responding to another article that said, like, people who get periods, something, 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 and she said, but something along the lines of, they used to have a name for that, it's women or whatever, and that was apparently, like, the latest terrible sin she's committed, and with people saying that, like, trans people can get periods and like non-binary people can get periods and like blah 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 blah. It's just funny because something that actually the word women speaks about 50% of the population of the world. And so it's just a it's just if nothing else, even if you don't believe sex exists, it's just a useful descriptor.
Yeah.
To
say that the majority of people who are born with female genitalia don't identify as female is just not true. It's most people who are assigned at birth female identify as female.
Yeah, so it's just useful, if nothing else. And so, but the point is that, like, I thought there was some, like, counter tweets to what she said, or, like, tweets that were, like, against her, and it was, like, this woman who, she'd had a, what are they called? Hysterectomy, where you take the womb out. And she was like, I guess I'm not a woman anymore then. And it's like, what? She's not saying if you don't menstruate, you're not a woman. And then it's just like, and then somebody said, in this time, during like the at the height of the struggle for Black lives, you choose to say this like trans exclusionary rhetoric shows that you hate both not only trans people but also Black people. And it's like, they don't believe this. No, but they don't even believe it. It's just performing. They're just performing a bit, and it's kind of got too far at this point.
But like it is like because this is J.K. Rowling's been a hot mess from the beginning, but this is the woke Twitter population eating their own in a very like big way, because she was just so immediately on it with my character of Voldemort is literally based on Donald Trump or whatever. She goes, it was something like that. She's just immediately she'll have a thing, and then it's like, oh, snap to JK.
Yeah. She's
like at it again. She's like brought the like, I don't know, oppressive, transphobic, racist, sexist population to their knees with her like tweet about some magical little boy that she wrote about.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's like there's so many of these people. Like, what we do have to remember is Twitter is just a cesspool. It's not the majority of people's opinions. It's like, just leave them to their intellectual like.
But desert. She deserves it. She deserves this backlash.
Yes, she does, absolutely. She deserves it. And you know, if you're gonna play by their games, then be prepared for like a circus, because it's a circus.
The thing in this article, it says that she was.
Yeah.
Sorry, this article is crazy. Rowling followed up her initial tweets by dragging lesbians into her rap when she retweeted an article with the headline "Anonymous Letter from a Terrified Lesbian."
People are ridiculous.
But sorry, what I was going to say
Terrified lesbian.
was that it's the Harry Potter author's history of anti-trans pronouncements on social media went full tilt last December when she tweeted. So she has been like dragged for this in the past. She tweeted her support of a British woman, Maya Forstater, who was fired for her anti-trans rhetoric on social media. Her anti-trans rhetoric being saying that
women exist.
Women exist, yeah.
As a distinct, separate entity to men.
And her tweet about that was, dress however you please, call yourself whatever you like, sleep with any consenting adult, or have you, live your best life in peace and security, but force women out of their jobs for stating that sex is real, #, I stand with Maya.
Boom.
Well,
is that not what they want?
It's just
the thing is, they don't. It's not enough to be able to do everything you want to do and live in complete freedom. They want everybody to accept their falsehoods and their lies.
Yeah, you have to buy it hook, line, and sinker, and the results of, and we're supposed to just ignore this, like people getting fired like this person, because like what inevitably happens in these, if you hear like debates around this topic, is someone goes, someone will go, like Jordan Peterson, I hate to bring him into it again, will go, you can't like tell us what we should be doing. This is a slippery slope. You can't use fake science to create legislation. And they're like, we're just not trying to get people to be nice to each other. We're not trying to get people fired. We're not trying to like force people to do anything. We're just giving rights to like a population who don't have a voice or whatever. But then it's like, okay, well then when someone actually gets fired for something that they tweeted, does it even have to be an issue about transgenderism?
Yeah, no.
It's like,
can I just say right now, trending in the UK, #trans lives matter.
Is it?
Yeah.
So do I stop reading these about the race issues in America, in the UK, or do I also every other book has to be about trans people? So black person, trans person, black person, trans person.
It's
the materials that I read, or
it's almost.
Does there have to be a black trans person?
It's almost you have to kind of like speak about these things in direct kind of reverse correlation to the amount of people who exist or who are actually affected by an issue. I saw basically one tweet that really kind of said everything about like the whole systemic racism thing. And what I was trying to say earlier about like that everyone benefits from these narratives in the sense that the left can say, oh, we stand with, you know, people who are affected by racism. The right can say, oh, you know, we need a strong police force and we're always going to be here to like fight against it. It just perpetuates the kind of the dual party kind of like.
Yeah.
They both win and they rely on each other. They feed each other. It's like it's just a circle. And like the tweet says, in depoliticized America, protest itself is depoliticized. It is not systemic racism that brutalizes millions of U.S. workers, but rather systemic anti-racist neoliberalism, anti-racist in quotation marks. Symbolic destruction of U.S. cities is therapeutic theater. Ritual sacrifice resacralizes neoliberalism. It's basically saying that like these burning buildings and these riots are just, and the same with the trans like debates and all this fighting and fakery. It's like it's basically it just perpetuates the cycle of like neoliberalism. Basically, it keeps the order of like corporations with their woke, you know, hashtags and stuff, but they can still sell their products.
Yeah.
Politics is needed now more than ever to address these serious issues. And so the media makes it into a massive thing. Every single thing. It's like everyone profits from it except the normal working person. And so what the thing is, you have to just take yourself out of it. in order to live in reality, because this isn't reality. The transgender thing, that is a massive story that people have had to uproot their assumptions about reality for in the media. If you buy into it, you have to uproot everything you ever thought about something in order to fight against it. And it turns out to actually, it affects 0.0001% of the population, and it's all but debunked as a problem. It's literally not a problem. And that's what I mean about reverse correlation between reality and the amount of time and effort. But people profit from these stories and these things happen.
They do,
And so you have to remove yourself from the rat race, basically.
Yeah, but the long and short of the J.K. Rowling story is that she is going to come out and publicly apologize at some point, and then that's going to be over. But it's quite tasty, that story. I do like it. It just first of all, that she's getting that amount of heat from her tweets is funny in itself, and then it's also funny that this same level of energy that is apparently people, it being open season on black men, there's a pandemic that's literally killing everyone, all of that's been going around in it's the same level of energy that is now going into J.K. Rowling thinks women are women.
Yeah.
And it just seems like it. I feel like that's a bit of a punch in the gut for the rhetoric and movement, because it's just a bit actually maybe we're overreacting about one thing or underreacting about the other, but there's some disconnect here.
I think we've covered our topics.
Yeah.
And let's say goodbye.
Yeah. Let's hope not too many huge events happen between now and next week. So we can talk about some other stuff. Okay.
Bye.
Over and out.